the Blue Jackets defense got some much needed additions this offseason, as well as time to get healthy, although mostly healthy, as Jake Bean is week to week with an injury, so that's a situation to keep an eye on. But I will be making some hard predictions in terms of who I think will start on what pair. This isn't for what I think will end the season with, but on opening night and where things will start out, I am going to make some predictions. But things are still very up in the air in training camp as far as who Pascal Vincent sees on what pair. Injuries are going to happen, so these predictions probably just won't be right from the get-go. But even if some of them are, they're certainly going to change over time. Again, with injuries, maybe some ebbs and flows. Maybe somebody gets on a hot streak we're not expecting. But we're going to get right into it, starting with who I believe will be on the top pair on the left side, Zach Werenski. I feel like this is a pretty safe bet here. He only played the first 13 games of the season before he had to leave with injury. He might be the biggest addition of the offseason, just getting him back from injury. Now, he is known more for his contributions as an offensive defenseman, but I do think he's gotten better at using his stick the past few seasons to break up dangerous plays and dangerous chances. Maybe you'd like to see him use his body a little bit more, but again, with last year's injury and the injury history that he had before last season, quite honestly, you might not really want him to throw his body around with reckless abandon. Now, he's still pretty early into his big contract extension. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. He is a no-brainer to plug in there as a top-line defenseman on the left side. Now, who's going to play opposite of him on the right? That is a little bit of a question mark. I'm going to go with Damon Severson right now. He is the biggest free agent get for the Blue Jackets this offseason. Technically, it was a trade, but he was going to hit unrestricted free agency, He negotiated a sign and trade deal with the Blue Jackets, so it was basically a free agent addition just before free agency opened up. Now, this might not necessarily be where he ends the season, but I feel like Damon Severson will start on the top pair, and that's where the organization wants him to end up working out as for this season. The top line, definitely going to be a step up from what his role was playing with the Devils in New Jersey, and I feel like there is some valid questions of whether or not this is a role he's going to fit in with right away. He has shown skill at moving the puck up the ice out of his own zone, which is definitely what the Blue Jackets need. They were terrible at that last season, but he's also been prone to making some head-scratching decisions with the puck from time to time. I'm sure you could find some lowlights from him last season of giving the puck away in pretty embarrassing fashion. So while it is solid most of the time, every now and then he has shown that he's capable of kind of leaving you scratching your head wondering what he was thinking of doing with the puck there. So if he's not up for top pair minutes, his contract might start to look kind of iffy pretty quickly into its tenure. He has an 8-year, upper $6 million contract, about almost $7 million, but not quite. So again, if he's not able to live up to that top pairing, it's not going to kill them. Salary cap's going up, and defensemen are going to start making more and more money. It's not going to cripple them long term, but it just might not look like that great of a contract if he's not ready to play with Zach Werenski this year. Moving on to the second pair on the left side, I'm going to go with Ivan Provorov there. Another new addition. This one definitely more of a pure trade move and a three-way deal with Philadelphia and the Los Angeles Kings. The Kings did retain some of Provorov's cap hit, so the Blue Jackets only have $4.75 million on their cap hit for the next 2 years. That's when his contract expires. This move was made to replace where Vladislav Gavrikov was in the lineup last year until the trade deadline. Didn't do very well on top pair in Philadelphia. The hope for Blue Jackets fans being that, him playing a bit of a lesser role on the second pair works out, gets him some better matchups. The ice time might not be as demanding, maybe a little bit less responsibility is what he needs. And he's been a guy who has been just healthy and available, which for the Blue Jackets, availability is the best ability right now, seeing what the fans saw last year with just it seemed like every Blue Jackets player just getting hurt. Then on the right side of him, I'm going to go with Adam Boqvist here. Maybe this is a hot take. I'm not necessarily thinking it is, but I don't think a Boqvist trade is going to happen before the season starts. I think if it was going to get done, it would have happened by now. We have seen a lot of offensive promise from Adam Boqvist. He has done a decent job of being the quarterback of the second power play unit. You would like to see him shore up some more of his pure defensive and physical game, and he's just been plagued with injury. That's what I mean when I say these predictions. You might as well toss him out the window at some point because Boqvist has just not been able to stay on the ice for that long very consistently. But if we're going to live in an ideal world where there's no sports injuries ever, I would put Adam Boqvist as the second pair defenseman on the right side. Hopefully they change his number from 27 soon if they haven't already, because that number has just been cursed ever since Ryan Murray donned it. Then we're going to get to the third pair. Now, the boring answer for the third pair is, well, if Jake Bean is healthy by the start of the season, then Jake Bean probably slides in there. However, if he is not, I am thinking that they might start the season, again, they're not going to end the season this way, but they might start the season with Denton Mateychuk at the left side on the third pair. There's a little bit out of left field here. Coming into camp, the thought was he'd pretty much have a cup of coffee in training camp and then automatically get sent back to juniors. But he is playing very well, not just in practices and scrimmages, but in preseason games as well against other teams. He's holding his own and looking pretty good. So again, just because he starts in the lineup doesn't mean he ends the season there. He could get his 9-game tryout and then be sent back to juniors. He looks very poised, a lot more NHL ready than I believe most people anticipated. And I think this is a good problem to have, because if you're wondering, well, do we send the prospect and have him play some games here, just send him back to junior? If he's looking better than you anticipated, especially for the draft capital you invested in him, I do think that's a good problem for the Blue Jackets to have. On his right side, a lot less exciting, I am going to predict that Erik Gudbranson is on the third pair on the right side. His contract has been bemoaned endlessly by the Blue Jackets fan base. I don't like it either, but going on a minutes-long rant about it would just be beating a dead horse at this point. He was brought in when the defense did need a big body, and he brings that, and he's a respected veteran in the locker room. Last season, I do applaud what he did for stepping into a consistent top 4 role that he really shouldn't have needed to be, and he was, as the season went on, he was more and more willing to stick up for the guys in the locker room. So I'm still not very excited to see another year of Erik Gudbranson on the roster, but I will be very happy to be proven wrong if I predict this contract ends in a buyout. But if he doesn't get bought out because his play warrants his contract, I think that's going to be awesome. Again, the human being of Erik Gudbranson seems like a great dude. He is easy to root for. It's nice to see him plowing guys out of the crease, but you see on some of the plays he has on 2-on-1s, not the best, just not great play in general. I don't know if that 4-year, $4 million contract is going to age very well. You could argue that it hasn't already, but again, I'm not going to talk anymore about that contract. But I hope Erik Gudbranson proves me wrong. I hope he makes me look like an idiot. It's not very hard to do to make me look silly, but I'm not having the highest of hopes for Erik Gudbranson this year. Now I am going to talk about some other names that I left off of the 3 pairs, starting with David Jiricek, very highly anticipated prospect. I think he starts the year in Cleveland. Maybe that's not a popular opinion, but there isn't room on the right side like there is on the left side for a guy like Mateychuk. I've said he could start on the left side. That right side of the defense just doesn't have that room. And honestly, I'm not sure if he's shown that pop that the Blue Jackets organization needs to put him in the NHL lineup right now. I certainly think he's better than a guy like Erik Gudbranson. But again, Erik Gudbranson with that contract, I don't think they're going to sit him in the press box very long. Speaking of the press box, Andrew Peeke, I feel like he is one of the candidates to be a 7th or even 8th defenseman, although I wouldn't be surprised if he slides in for a guy like Adam Boqvist. If Boqvist either gets hurt or gets off to a slow start, I could see him sliding into the lineup very easy. The Jackets like what he does. He blocks a lot of shots. Not an offensive guru or anything, but he is willing to, again, block shots. And before the team got Gudbranson, Andrew Peeke was kind of experimenting with becoming that defenseman that's willing to throw his body around and maybe drop the gloves here and there. Then you have Nick Blankenburg. I expect him to also stay in the press box. They could even send him to Cleveland. I believe he's exempt from waivers. However, if Mateychuk isn't there and Jake Bean still isn't healthy, I do feel like Nick Blankenburg could give that third pair left defense a spark. He did it last season where he sat in the press box for the first few games, but then he got in the lineup and he's a heart and soul guy. He fired up the team. The way he plays and just combined with his size, not very conductive for him to stay on the ice very long consistently. He has been injured on and off really ever since he was a part of the Blue Jackets organization, but it is fun watching him on the ice. I do feel like as a fan favorite, he might get a little bit overhyped, but he definitely brings 100%, 110% every time he's out on the ice. Him scoring that empty net goal with essentially a broken ankle, as we found out after that game last season when he had to go out long term, that's something that I'm going to remember for quite a long while. And just at the tail end here, I will throw in the name of Jake Christiansen. I imagine he gets sent to Cleveland, and I think he only gets called up in case of more than a couple injuries happening. I don't see a whole lot happening from him, but I do feel like Jake Christiansen can be one of those guys who I don't expect a whole lot out of, But if he does get a long shot opportunity, I feel like maybe he's the kind of player who can take the most of that opportunity and run with it. So that's going to be it for my video here. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you like my predictions? Do you think I'm stupid for the predictions? You can tell me down in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and you'd like to see more like it. And I will see you at the next one. My hair fell down.